All right, thanks everybody for joining. We'll give it about another minute or two to let everybody get in and settle down, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, everyone, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Seems like last few people have trickled in. Again, thank you for joining us today. Just a few reminders, this session is recorded. Again, recording of this conference will be available about an hour after we finish here. Please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions. I'll try to keep an eye on that. Also, we recommend using the conference platform features because the words in the chat will also be recorded. But other than that, please keep yourself muted and we'll go from there. And I'm excited to introduce Mr. Tobias Harvey.
Thank you, Dion. Hi. Hello. My name is Tobias, and I work with Create Uplift. We are one of the vendors for DECA here. And I'm here today to kind of go over the new Kansas Home Visiting website, which was launched just a couple months ago. And then we're also going to briefly touch on some of the marketing and advertising things, social media related things. And then I would be happy to answer any questions about the website, about social media, any question that I can give an answer to, I'd be glad to do so. So like I said, my name is Tobias Harvey, and I am one of the co-founders of Create Uplift. We're based here in Topeka, Kansas. We have an office downtown, right off 6th and Quincy. These photographs here, this is my son, Samuel. I am the father to a 2-year-old boy. Me and my partner, Ashley, had Samuel on pandemic day on March 11th of whatever year the pandemic started. So, and having a baby during the pandemic was kind of tough, but we actually did take place in some of the home visiting programs, and we are still I actually have an appointment tomorrow morning with TARC, but we have taken place in the Parents as Teachers program, and also in a speech communication development program that's offered through TARC. So we have had some home visitors in our home. So luckily I've had some firsthand experience with Kansas Home Visiting. So as I mentioned before, I work with Create Uplift. We are an advertising and creative agency in Topeka. Our primary focuses include website design, graphic design, videography, and then managed social media. We also do ad buys and ad placement. So for example, what our organization does for Kansas Home Visiting is if you see a billboard up, it was probably placed through us or designed by us. If you see a video for Kansas Home Visiting, something on social media, that was probably done by us. And we started working on Kansas Home Visiting in November of last year. So we're coming up on a full year of some of the things that we've done with DECA for KHV. So here, just kind of a snapshot of the websites. So when we first started working on KHV, the white website on your left, that is kind of what it looked like. There was some messaging. There was a different logo than what is now. They were also using some of the quote call out boxes and things like that. So we totally kind of revamped the design. We did a lot of back end work, gave it a lot of new plugins. gave it a lot of more functionality. And I think part of the challenge of what we were trying to do with Kansas Home Visiting was just rework the messaging to make it a little more effective for website visitors or people who are not familiar with Kansas Home Visiting in general. So the purpose of the website, this is kind of a question that we ask before we start any website project, right? Is like, what is the general purpose of a website? Why do you want a website? Why would you spend money to invest in a website? And we kind of drew to the conclusion that the purpose of this website was to connect parents to programs and resources in their area. So Kansas Home Visiting is not necessarily a program that someone can reach out to directly. Its functionality is to connect parents to the different programs and resources in the area. So it kind of acts as an umbrella for different programs and national resources too. Its purpose is also to promote in-home visitors, showing that in-home visitors are fun, engaging, educational, important. And then we also use the website to provide resources to visitors and stakeholders. So as we go, there are some pages in the website that are there to provide resources to other organizations and to the people who are actually going into the homes, knocking on doors, things like that. The website has kind of 3 primary sections. So we have an about section, which is basically just everything about Kansas Home Visiting and why it's important. So it has an overview of Kansas Home Visiting. It kind of has a little bit of backing about where Kansas Home Visiting came from, studies that were done, needs assessments and stuff like that. The second section is for support. Support is the most traveled section. That's what people are really looking for, is support. That's where the programs and resources for parents and providers are going to be housed at. So there are different pages in there that provide those things. And then there's a section for more, which is just kind of a flexible web space. That's where you would find the conference agenda at. That kind of will change over time as different events or initiatives come about. So that's kind of a flex space that we've reserved for new content and events and things like that. The most visited page besides the homepage is the Find a Program page. So the Find a Program page, which is under the support tab, is going to first just provide an overview of the system, just kind of what it is. There's some images there, there's some language there. There are some call outs for some of the more well-known programs throughout the state. There's also a call out for 1-800-CHILDREN. That was put there in case some people aren't very web savvy and they want to make a phone call instead. And then there's the searchable map by county, which is still there. We also did move the county map to the homepage as well. So that was another thing we did to kind of make that more visible. But the Find a Program page, I think, is kind of what most people are looking for when they go to the site. And again, that's housed right under the support tab. And then also within the support tab is an Explore Resources page. So this is resources for parents and home visitors. This is kind of broken up into 2 sections. What we did was we compiled a list of online resources for families. This is different information, different programs. Most of these programs are national, so you'll see like March of Dimes, information from CDC. Then there's some state stuff like Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition, Child Care Aware. Basically, each of these little icons is a link to a different resource that families can access, and there's a short blurb about what that resource is. And the same thing for home visitors. So the second section is going to be resources for home visitors. So within the resources for home visitors, you'll find different toolkits. You'll find different information that you may need to perform your role as a home visitor and help improve the experience you have with the families. And then the resources for visitors actually has another page within the support. The resources for visitors page has it's a dedicated section that will house the different print materials, graphic assets, social media materials. Eventually we'll have possibly some downloadable videos, maybe some images. These are the things that in-home visitors or your organization can use across social media or across your own creative efforts. If you need Kansas Home Visiting assets. So for example, the logos are all housed here. If you want to download high quality or vectorized copies of the logos, the Kansas Home Visiting brochure is housed here. If you need to download a printable copy of the brochure, there's also a Spanish version of the brochure that's housed here. One of the things we wanted to do was translate the brochure into Spanish for Spanish-speaking populations. There's some different social media prompts that we've created that you can utilize personally, or you can utilize them within your organization. And then for those who are familiar with the old website, we've also kept all the old materials on there as well. There's some business cards, there's some one-page flyers, there's some radio ad assets in there too. So this page is actually very long, and it's just full of lots of different downloadable files that you can utilize as you go. So to kind of quickly touch over the website data, I pulled this data just the other day, and to date, the website has seen 4,571 users, which is pretty on par with also how it performed last year. It's seen 5,883 sessions. So a user is when one person goes to the site. A session is how many times they visit that site. So you might go to the site more than once, so that would log up more sessions. The average duration is 1:32. That is actually really high in comparison to some of the other website projects we do. Usually most people spend about 20 seconds on a website. So to see over 90 seconds, I think is really great, especially that's the average duration. So people are going to the site and they're actually looking through the pages. Maybe they're looking through the resources, different things like that. And then there is a fourth metric that we track called goals. And a goal is basically just when someone spends more than 2 minutes on the site, which is what we look for. So we want people to kind of spend time on the site, dig through the pages, click on different things. We want to be able to make sure that they can, get the information that they need. So we've hit 948 goals to date, which I think is pretty good. So with that said, I did want to touch on some social media stuff as well. Were there any questions kind of about the website before we go further? I don't see any questions. So, okay. So if you do have any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat box in Pathable, and I will get them answered. So social media in itself is just as large a project as the website was. So Kansas Home Visiting has 2 social media accounts. They are both at KS Home Visiting. So you can follow Kansas Home Visiting on Facebook or on Instagram. This is where you'll see various updates. This is where you'll find content. This is where you can tag the account or you can share things from the account. But I would encourage everyone in this meeting who has access to social media to either like the Facebook page or follow the Instagram account. That's kind of where you'll find the most current information coming out of KHV. One of the big challenges that we had initially was just reworking all the content for Kansas Home Visiting. So trying to build some brand guidelines and some brand identity for Kansas Home Visiting. We wanted to showcase more diversity. We wanted to try to showcase a little bit of more authenticity. But we also wanted to keep the content informative and educational. So reworking the content across social media is something that we're still doing as we go. These are some of the content pieces that we've developed for the KHV platform so far, and we pretty regularly schedule content on all the accounts, about 2 to 4 times per week, celebrating different things or encouraging people to participate in one of the programs or to find a home visitor near you. So we manage both these accounts, and we do all the content as well. Our focus is for social media from now until the end of the year and further are really to increase the followers. So neither of the Kansas Home Visiting social media accounts have 500 followers, which is what we try to get to first. So our first initiative is try to increase followers. That way, you know, when we make posts, we know that they're going to a broader audience or they're reaching more people. Because right now the followers are still pretty low. We also want to try to increase engagement. So increasing engagement can look like maybe posting more videos, maybe posting content that encourages engagement, maybe trying to post some content of actual home visitors or real photos instead of relying on stock photos, different things like that. And then we're really looking to maintain the reach. So social media reach is very big, even though there aren't very many followers. The reach is kind of maintained through paid ads. So we're just looking to maintain the reach for the rest of this year as it was opposed to the last time period. Some of the works that we have in progress, just to kind of share for those of you that are here, what's coming in the next month or two. We have been working on a new promotional / testimonial video. We think this is going to be really critical to get people to sort of establish trust with Kansas Home Visiting, and hopefully that will encourage them to request a home visitor. It will kind of show them that it's safe and that it's fun and that's valuable. So we have been working on a promotional testimonial video. A long format video would look something like 3 to 4 minutes. That's kind of the video that the users can go and watch to get a better feel for the program, and for the different programs and how they go about. Then there'll be a 30-second format. That's something we'll look to deploy across platforms like YouTube, potentially Hulu, Facebook, any of your more traditional, I guess, digital advertising platforms. And then we're looking to do kind of a new initiative, which would just be a short 5-second format to deploy across Snapchat, TikTok, possibly Instagram. Those 5-second ads are geared more for a younger audience who tend to have short attention spans. And all that is just to really dial up the reach for Kansas Home Visiting and get the message out to a broader audience. Another work in progress that we kind of have going is an initiative called Share Your Story. So Share Your Story would enable a way for families and home visitors to share their real, authentic stories. That makes for much more relatable content, and in turn also makes for much more engaging content. I just think interesting content. So what that would look like would be an area on the website where people could go and submit their story, maybe upload some photos. And then we would turn that and replicate that into social media content, or it could possibly live on the website. That's kind of a program that we have in development right now for Kansas Home Visiting. And then we also will be sending or working on sending out social media toolkits. This is something we do for some of other organizations as well. Basically compiling a pack of social media posts that the different stakeholders can utilize across their own social media platforms. These would be photographs or graphics that are already formatted and ready to go, and that they would come with copy. And all you really have to do is just kind of schedule them. Those would be things like the national weeks or months or specific topics like infant formula shortages. But I'm sorry. With all that said, does anyone have any questions or feedback?
I got a question. I know it was kind of mentioned earlier before we started talking, but do you have any, I guess, brochures or flyers or anything that's starting to go out, or um, just kind of how are you kind of reaching, families and parents who may not know about home visiting?
Yeah, so one of the first things we did was rework the trifold brochure, and that was sent out to various places across the state. I know the first place I saw it was actually at Topeka Public Library. Um, so I know DECA had printed several thousand copies of the brochure and issued them across the state. So print materials are something that we're in charge of as well. Um, and that brochure is also available on the Kansas Home Visiting website, and I believe it's also here in Pathable too. You should be able to download it from the Pathable dashboard as well. So if yourself or your organization needs the copy of the brochure, you should be able to grab it online and print it off on any home computer.
Has anyone here actually used the website? Um, I know myself, I have. Honestly, could probably use a little bit more, but if anybody has any history with using the website, or even before Tobias and his team were able to kind of revamp it. You have a question in the chat from Miss Tammy. She asks if we have any testimonials or videos from families, who would we share that with to post?
Sure, that's a good question. So you would share that directly with me, actually. So let me get back to so my email address is here. It's just tobias@createuplift.com. And I would really encourage anyone who has content that they'd like to see on social media to just share it directly with me. What we do is we kind of take that content and format it for social media. We might add graphics. We might edit the video a little bit. But what we do is we're kind of in charge of all the creative and marketing work for Kansas Home Visiting. So if anyone has any materials that they think would be valuable in the marketing scheme, please definitely contact me. Feel free to share photos with me, videos with me, stories. Like I mentioned, the Share Your Story initiative that we're working on getting off the ground, I think is really going to be fantastic for the marketing campaigns that we're doing. So we have had I know that um, DECA had reached out to some home visitors to kind of do a meet your home visitor segment across social media. One of the barriers we ran into with that was that a lot of home visitors were hesitant to talk about themselves. They weren't sure if it was appropriate or if that their organization would um, allow them to speak on camera or allow them to, um, even be seen on social media or things like that. Um, so there are some barriers when it comes to sharing content like that. And obviously, if we're working with a family, we would have to have families' consent, permission, and things like that too. But I would still strongly encourage anyone who has content that they'd like to see shared to please send it to me. And I can make sure that it kind of gets put through the system to eventually get out to the public.
All right. Do we have any more questions or concerns or anything you'd like to pick Tobias's brain on?
I do have, just for the people who are here. Is there anything that maybe you see lacking in the Kansas Home Visiting marketing realm, just in general? Just if you think of the website, social media, print materials, Is there anything that you'd like to see coming out of Kansas Home Visiting that would, be an asset to you? Are there any recommendations or feedback across that? Because we would be kind of the contact point to handle that. Nothing.
We have a statement in the chat. Person says, I would like more education about tobacco prevention and like advertising quiet line.
Sorry, quit line.
Quit line. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we do some youth preventative marketing for another organization also. So so from that, just kind of to dig into that, are you wanting to have materials about parents quitting smoking? So one of the things is that Kansas Home Visiting is only available for prenatal to 5-year-olds.
Yes.
So parents, okay.
Yes, and the exposure of infants 0 to 5 to secondhand and third-hand smoke. There are lots of resources. I work with KDHE and for tobacco, and we offer some incentive to pregnant women. Every time they call the quit line, they will get $30 gift card when they make a call. And for anyone who is adult smoker or young or even young adult young smoker, when they call the quit line, they get free coaching sessions with professional counselors, up to 6 sessions. I think that's good. Home visitors, they go to the home, they have the relationship already with families. I think they are very powerful. I believe in home visitors and the mission they have and the power they have because they have the connections with family. So it would be easy for them to get that message to them and coach them, make that web referrals. Home visitors have the cell phones with them. Make those web referrals. It's very easy. It takes about 2 minutes. Follow up with the families when they are ready. That's what I want my message to get to home visitors.
Okay, awesome. No, I think that's great. And I think that would also be a great thing to add to the website under the resources tab is maybe a link to that quit line. And we can definitely look at creating some different content pieces around that to help get that message out through the Kansas Home Visiting audience as well.
We have another statement. It could be fun to have parent educators who are intimidated about sharing about themselves to talk about why they do what they do, such as favorite memories, success stories.
Yeah, I would love to kind of bring a more authentic message to the Kansas Home Visiting marketing. And that kind of works twofold. We have to have people who are willing to share their story in order for us to share their story. So hopefully that's something that we can work through when we work more on the Share Your Story initiative and things like that. But yeah, I think just telling an authentic story about home visitors is really important. So that's something that we will really focus on as well in the coming months.
You have another question. It is on the Kansas Home Visitor page on Facebook. Can it be available in Spanish with all the information that is provided?
You should be able to go into Facebook settings and change your language. So Facebook should do that for you if you have your language set correctly. But there won't be anything on the Facebook page that says view page in Spanish. You just have to go into Facebook and change your language setting. But yeah, trying to be more bilingual is a large initiative for us with all of our clients, but especially with Kansas Home Visiting, because there's such a large Spanish speaking population that is hard to reach. There's a large demographic that is afraid to approach programs like this because there's a large language barrier. Here in Topeka, we've been working through a pilot program to help Hispanic businesses, Spanish speaking businesses. So getting more materials in Spanish, doing social media posts maybe in Spanish, that I think that could be something worth exploring at a larger scale. So, well,
we have about 15 minutes until our break before the last session.
yeah.
I guess, Tobias, if you don't have anything else,
Yeah.
or
I was just going to say thank you everyone for attending. I know that this workshop was probably going to be a little bit shorter. So I don't probably have as robust of a presentation as some of the other panelists, but thank you to everyone who tuned in. I would encourage you to visit the website. It's kshomevisiting.org. Follow the social media accounts at KS Home Visiting. And again, please jot down my email or reach out to me. However you can find me, email is the best way. And if you have anything that you think you might want to see across Kansas Home Visiting marketing, anything that we could use as a value add would be greatly appreciated. So if you'd like to pop into another program before the next break, I would encourage you to check one of them out.
so thank you all for joining us, and we'll, like Tobias said, you can hop in another one or take you a long break before our last session.
Yeah.
So I'll give it about 5 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes, just in case anybody has any lingering questions or concerns. But other than that, I think we're good. And all right, Tobias, I'm gonna go ahead and end it, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much for moderating this. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for the presentation.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.